Hey everybody, welcome to COXtales. Thanks for logging on. I'm very excited about this next guest. Sheryl Lee Ralph has been one of my inspirations. She's been a good friend over the years, very supportive, and I wanted to just highlight her and her career and all of her achievements. So take a listen to my conversation with Miss Sheryl Lee Ralph. Gorgeous.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
How are you, darling?
Let me tell you something. I am so in a state around what's going on in this country right about now. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think you exemplify the word diva
Thank
because you are an incredible mother. You're a wife. You're married. You work together. You're both. Um, it's a partnership with you and your husband. You have done film. You've done TV. You've done Broadway. And you're an exec, you do all these things. You have your own chair. So let's just dive in. Um, what are you passionate about right now at this moment?
I'm passionate about people. I'm always passionate about people. I'm passionate about the power of the people, so much so that I use myself as the body billboard to spread the message that people have power. And that power is something that has got to be learned, to be used properly to make a difference. You know, in the past days since the killing of George Floyd, we're seeing a tipping point in this country where people must learn to use their power to fight racism, especially when racism continues to end up with the killing of young Black men and women, but especially men.
And so, as a mother raising a son, as I am, you have a son as well.
Yeah. You know, we've all had the talk with our sons that says, okay, if you're stopped by the police, make sure, one, that you are not in the rug, so you're not in the wrong, so you don't have drugs and alcohol on you. Number two, make sure you put your hands on the steering wheel. Make sure you speak out loud your name, that you have no weapons on you. Make sure that you are calm, cool, and collected so you don't get shot.
Exactly.
Because even after us having those kinds of conversations with our sons, nothing we do or say could have protected them from the kind of hatred that was videotaped, caught on cameras, sent around the world in the murder of George Floyd. Yes. So I feel a sense of, my God, I want this target to be taken off of our sons.
They don't even have to be doing anything or have anything. How do you conduct yourself in a way that will keep you safe?
It seems that we are in a position right here, right now, where we are in the tipping point, where we are seeing that it is very easy for a Black man, a man of color, to lose his life for nothing. Because let's be clear, George Floyd lost his life around a $20 bill. They say that he tried to pay for food with counterfeit $20 bill. The hard part is we don't even know if it was purposeful or not. Very often in certain communities, you come across counterfeit money. Mm-hmm. And it's very often it's not your fault. Mm-hmm. But the value placed upon his life was $20. $20. We've seen people, non-Black, non-people of color, walk into places and shoot up cinemas, and we see them arrested. Yes. You know, to make it more personal, It was Halloween last year. A young white woman came to our house and was banging on the doors, demanding to be let in. She was obviously inebriated, but she was causing such a racket. When the police arrived, they offered to get her an Uber home. And I often think to myself, in our neighborhood, wow, had that been a young Black woman or a young Black man on any one of these doors, I'm not so sure the police would have offered them an Uber.
Right.
But I've seen how differently things can
Yes.
play out with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't prepare our children for these things because of it's the hatred in other people's hearts. It's how they're valued by other people who look at them. And Deborah, I'm just keeping it real with you because I believe God has put me in a position to see things with my own eyes. So I don't talk about what I've heard. I can talk to what I've experienced. When my son was graduating from college, we had a college party in our backyard. Maybe it was loud, we don't know, but one of the neighbors called the police, which we thought was odd because whenever we're going to have parties or gathering, we invite the neighborhood and we tell our block and the blocks behind us, that's a whole lot of people, that the party is happening and it's what it is and they're invited. Well, somebody called the police. When the police got there was a white officer amongst a Latin officer and two Black officers. The white officer who was taking the lead on it asked me to step outside. I said, absolutely not. I said, you're welcome to come in. When the Black officers came before him, they said, well, hey, Miss Ralph, how are you doing? Thank you for your service to the community. I said, thank you. The white officers came in and I said, this is a graduation party for my son. What you're seeing there are college graduates from all of the schools making up his friendship, right? The white officer said audibly, well, that's unusual. All Black graduates. I was like, wow, see, that's what they're up against. Wow. And he was in the company of two Black officers and a Hispanic officer. And that's what he said out loud. So we find it hard to prepare our children for that.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And that happened to me, my family,
your family,
in our house, in our very upscale neighborhood.
That's the thing. You know, we're in the suburbs as well in Florida. And I haven't had an incident like that, but my God, how do you prepare? How do you tell these children to, prepare for that kind of,
and for the longest time, I've been telling people we need to have some difficult conversations about so many things. But as a child of the 60s, I remember thinking that George Wallace and those police with the dogs and the hoses, they were like the boogeymen. They were going to kill me. I remember feeling that way. And I remember there were times when I was unconsolable because they blew up those little girls going to church. Those images are hard to get away from. When Emmett Till's mother demanded an open casket because she wanted America to see how they had murdered her son. Those are images that were hard to get over. So for me, for my children, it has been constant on my mind to make sure they are aware of what has happened before them and what can happen to them.
Yes.
I think in many ways we need to take note from the pages of some other people in this country who have weekend history classes with their children for them to know the people that they come from and who it is they are and what is expected of them going forward in the future.
Yes.
And I think education cannot be belittled. We cannot keep acting like education does not matter. It
matters.
does
Yes,
matter.
it does.
It may not protect you from being shot and killed by the police, but it certainly does matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Well, I love that about you. You always keep it real. You keep it respectful. You know, dignified, always classy.
Thank you.
You know, and inspiring. And for a woman like myself coming up in the industry and seeing your work, and it's inspiring. It's inspiring. So that's why I wanted to. I'm so honored to have this opportunity to talk to you. Um, so,
Thank you.
Sheryl, you've done the stage. You've done Broadway. Now, that's a grind. Ain't nothing about that. You are the original dream girl. Take me through the process of the workshop and right up to the point where you're on stage, that first night. Take me through that.
You know, it was about 2 or 3 years of workshopping this. I will never forget being chosen out of one of the largest groups of some of the singing, and I mean SANGING, singingest women, not unlike yourself, who were in this room, and the building in my mind just seemed at times to be rising up off the ground. And 890 Broadway is a huge building. And I'll never forget when they called my name, and I was just like, me? After what I just heard,
right?
Me? And I remember Tom Ian saying to me, I have one that sings like this, and I have one that sings like this, and then I've got you who sings like this. Just the way I wrote it. And I was like, wow, I don't know how to feel about that, but thank you, because it helped me find my page in theater history. And very often, so much has been made about the character of Dina as opposed to Effie. And what Tom Ian, who was the original writer of the show, always wanted to show was a big difference between the voice, the pain, the anger in the voices that we have when we're in church, because you know those voices came out of pain, those voices came out of struggle.
Yes.
And that the only release we had was Sunday in church. You know, that voice and that's the voice of Effie. Right. Then you have the voice of the child that's come along since that the child, the voice that comes along, that understands the power, understands the pain, but represents a different walk as we move forward. And you were to see that there was still skill there, but it had been tamped down a bit. Where when they asked me for my audition song and they said, sing something from church, I took it literally and I sang Ave Maria. They didn't know that I wasn't a little gospel girl. They had no idea that I'm a West Indian immigrant's child. I'm an Episcopalian, so we don't sing like that in church. You know, but they had no real concept of that. But that's exactly what they wanted. Right. Because that's exactly what that character was representing.
Yeah. Character represented. I love that. Yeah.
Exactly. So when people try to make Dina sing, but in maybe a different octave, like Effie, you're missing the whole point.
Exactly.
That's why I'm looking forward to directing the show one day.
Let's put that out there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So you nominated as well?
I was nominated, yes. And Michael Bennett was the director of Dreamgirls after Tom Ian. Once he took over the workshop, he became the director. And Michael Bennett had a plan. And Michael Bennett was a very verbal person at times. You know, there were times when he let you hear exactly what he was
Right.
thinking. Michael Bennett's plan was to nominate Jennifer for Best Actress. He was torn to nominate me for Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress because he was pulling for Loretta for Best Supporting Actress. Okay? And now, once again, I don't know how to feel, but I'm just going to receive it as it went down. I got nominated for Best Actress. Jennifer got nominated for Best Actress and eventually won. But Loretta didn't get nominated at all. And it hurt me so badly because Loretta and I had taken this journey together from the very beginning, from the workshop to opening night.
Wow.
Loretta and myself were the two original Dreams cast.
Right.
There was nobody else. It was us. And it was very hard for me to take that journey without being able to make it with her. Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, you know, because it comes across, you're a very giving performer. You're very, like, you don't mind to share the spotlight. You have your,
I don't mind.
And so that's,
you know why? Let me tell you why. I truly believe, and you know, I experience this like when you're on stage with me and we've done Divas before, it's like, I'm so proud and happy. And it's like when I hear you sing and then I see the way you look and we have a shared heritage, I'm like, that shine is part of my shine. And I feel so good about that. You know, being on stage with Jennifer Lewis, who I've known forever, as outrageous as she is, that shine is my shine because I know where she comes from. You know, Loretta, myself, I know the journey we've taken together. That shine is my shine. And when I look at some of the other actresses, you know, coming up and producing and writing, Lena Waithe, I'm like, yeah, that shine's my shine. So yes, I love to give space to receive the shine. Niecy Nash, you know, that shine. Issa Rae, that shine. Yvette Brown, that shine. I mean, it's just, there's just so much. I'm like, you shine, I shine too. I like that.
Absolutely. And we're all different and there's room for everybody and everybody is unique. And I hate that this pits everybody against each other and makes them feel like there's only one that can go through the doors. No, we all can go through the door because we all offer something very different.
That's right. And you just made an interesting statement. And I talk about this all the time. And I talk about it to my daughter. Do not compare. Do not compete. Because when you compare and you compete with anybody, there is only one loser. And that is you.
Yeah.
You're the loser.
You never ever, you don't ever, meet whatever that standard is that you hold so high, right?
You never meet that expectation. And if you think that you have met that expectation, you're wrong again.
Right.
You should never have done that. Do not compare. Do not compete.
Do not compare. Do not compete. Do not compare. Do not compete.
Thank you.
That's a t-shirt. That's a slogan. Let's touch on, you know, motherhood and the you know, that feeling that you always get as a mother from time and time again, that guilt, the mommy guilt. Have you ever felt that? And how do you deal with it? I'm just learning how to deal with that. In the sense that I know if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of you. I have to come first,
Exactly.
right?
I think my kids are just now really beginning to understand what I've been saying all that time. I don't know about you, and I'm sure you've experienced it. I travel a lot
A
for
lot.
work. I have always traveled a lot for work. But I made sure in my life, just like I'm sure you have in yours, there is a support system in my home for my children that is connected to family.
Yes.
Whether that's my mother coming in to spend months when my mom was alive and my kids were young. I call her our loving home engineer, Miss May, who has been with us since before my children were born and is still with us now. You
Wow.
know, there has always been that support, even though I divorced from their father,
Okay.
making sure that they had a relationship that was as healthy as I could make it with their father, understanding that my relationship with their father as my ex is my relationship, but it must not damage your relationship with your father. Because good or bad, let me tell you, a bad father is better than no father at all. Now, those are just my thoughts. And I said, you know what, let me do the best that I can for my children. But,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes they talk and they would say things like, oh, you're always gone. And I have to correct them and say, am I always gone? Or do I spend a lot of time on the road? Which one is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Distinguish
do
it.
you appreciate the clothes you wear? Do you appreciate
Yes.
the home that you live in?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you appreciate the cars you drive? So tell me, what don't you want, or what would you have changed in what I do
Mm-hmm.
to affect the way you live? Because you have you had health insurance, right?
Right.
So I always try to be on my side,
Yeah.
just like you are on your side. I always try to make sure I take care of myself and know where I stand in the
And
choices
that's
that
where it
I've made.
starts. And I think a lot of people don't get that. Some go through life and they don't get it at all. But
Right.
fortunately, I caught on to that, I think in my early 30s, right around when my son was about 6 months and I went to audition for Aida. That's when it clicked. I was like, I get this. I'm not just a stay-at-home mom. There is that
That's
side
right.
of me that is there is that nurturing side where I don't mind doing it, but I like to work and I love my work. And
That's
this
right.
is what the work requires. So as long as I have, you know, someone that gets that, then it's okay to make it happen. But it
That's
took me
right.
a long time
That's right.
to get to that place, though.
And everybody's got to be on the same page. They've got to
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely, absolutely. So now you are, again, you're acting, you're playing the president. You're playing
Yes.
the president, the U.S. president in Motherland. Um, so this is television now.
Mhm.
How do you like the process of television now in this role, as opposed to when you were doing Moesha, which ran forever and is iconic in itself, that show? I mean, that show, the cast, the
Ah,
storytelling, you know what I mean? Just,
yes, I do. Moesha is iconic. People love that show. The
mhm,
show is in the name Moesha is in a lot of young people's lexicon. That's a word, that's a
yeah,
name that they know. And I know that I made an impact on people's lives when I see young women who are now like in their 30s and their 40s. They're like, girl, you helped me learn how to raise my children because I really didn't know what I was doing. But you were doing such a good job every week. I learned.
yes.
That makes me feel so good. And all the subjects that we touched upon,
Touch
you
on
know,
so
drugs, birth,
yes,
birth
that wasn't
control,
happening. Yeah, Yeah.
in interracial dating, and how it had an effect on what people thought, you know, how they put their minds together about these things.
Yeah.
I loved doing Moesha. Now doing the new show Motherland Fort Salem on Freeform, it is so interesting because now when I go on sets, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of women behind the camera.
You are a female president. That has never been, I mean, you're the first female
Black
woman
female president. Okay, that just says a lot. And then, you know, we have female directors, we have female DPs, we have lots of female writers getting a big shot, you know, to see crews that have so many women just doing the job. That's a huge difference for me to see.
Right.
And especially to see people of color incorporated behind the scene. You know, when we were doing Moesha, what Ralph Farquhar was putting together, it was very unusual. A Black writer's room, to have a diverse group of directors, you know, to have a crew that was made up of Black and brown people and others. That was very unusual back then. And so I celebrate what was done before the camera, in front of the camera, and behind the camera, especially as it pertains to Moesha.
Yes.
And now with Motherland, it's becoming the norm.
Yeah. You've been a pioneer. You've been a trendsetter, a trailblazer on so many.
And it ain't easy.
Platforms.
It's not easy.
This
girl.
is the thing. Oh, it's not easy, and I know it's not easy. And I know that you just forge forward and you just keep going. You keep going, which brings me to Divas Simply Singing. I think I was on the fifth one.
You were early on.
I was early.
You were early on to the show, to the fight, to the struggle. And it's one of the things that's hard for people to understand, the heart of a volunteer, the heart of a committed volunteer. So when people come to participate, singers of your stature come to participate, you're volunteering, you're giving of your time and of yourself. And I don't care what anybody says, that is very unusual. You know, we had to set up certain standards very early with Divas. I mean, considering this year's our 30th year of Divas Simply Singing, 30 years of raising the flag of awareness. But early on, I had to say to Divas, look, if your attitude is bigger than your hairstyle, please stay home, because we can't handle it. We
ain't doing
There's no room.
Right.
There's no room. And you could see what happened last year and the year before, because you were there, what it was like when we had to move to a different venue and we didn't have the rooms that we usually have for people to be in, to dress. And thank God we had assembled a group of women who were very happy and comfortable being together in a space, talking.
This is the thing, in Broadway, not everybody's getting it. I mean, not everybody's gonna dress in you got your little spot where you could put your hair and makeup in, right? You know what I mean? Like, these Broadway theaters are small and you got to figure it out. So
you have to figure it out. I always tell up and coming young artists, always know many things will happen in your career, but you will always be changing somewhere in a bathroom, and you should pray that it is clean, because that's going to happen. But wasn't it interesting how when this whole Corona happened and folks who had come up without access to theater, out access to certain skills, like we learned being in Broadway that you must know how to do your hair, you must know how to do your makeup, because you will go to certain places and you will be the person in charge of your hair and makeup. So it was interesting to see in the time of Corona how many people could not do their hair,
right,
could not do their makeup, and did not have a clue.
none, and just are like helpless.
Helpless. That would be a show you'd be great in. You would be great in Hamilton.
Oh,
You would be great in Hamilton as one of the sisters.
I
would pay to see that just for 3 months though, girl.
Ooh,
Please.
that's a whole lot of singing and the rapping and and a lot of breath control. So tell me, what's your when you're singing, right? When you sing,
Yes.
what is your go-to thing that you do? What helps you to keep your voice together? I want to know what the little concoction is.
Let me tell you this. And this is something I don't speak about. And a lot of what I know as a performer and a human being came from my time in Dreamgirls. Because I compared, because I competed, because I felt I should compare, because I was made to compete, I was always putting myself up against Jennifer Holliday. Now, the thing to understand about Jennifer Holliday as a vocal artist, that is something unique. That is something once in a lifetime. What we experienced every night in the wings watching Jennifer sing. A lot of people can sing that song, but you still never hear it sung the way she did.
Yes.
Back then. You don't hear it. I don't care who has sung it well.
I agree.
Up until now. You don't hear what that visceral response to the words and the performance, you know. I would listen to that, and then people would say, but she can't sing, meaning me. I can't sing. When in my head, I'm an actress, and the actress, and it happens on Broadway often, you make your voice fit the character.
Absolutely.
You create the voice for the character.
Yeah.
And Dina is not to sing anywhere like or close to.
No, they miss
Effie.
it. They miss it. They've missed
Which
it.
is why I made a certain voice. And people could not distinguish the voice between Dina on stage when she sang, you know, like,
right.
You know, that light, breathy woman, which is different from the second act when she starts to sing, Mama said I am special. You know, there's a change. They didn't get that. And I tried to make myself be, and it was impossible, Effie, Jennifer, and in some ways, I created blocks in my head and in my voice.
Oh, wow.
So for years, and trust me, blocks in your head are worse than anything that could come on your cords. Because I completely blocked myself out of being able to sing my best. One of the reasons I stopped singing during Divas Simply Singing was because I had to hear other people do what I was so sure I could no longer do, which was sing. What? So sometimes I'll get on, this is true now. I'll get on the diva stage and I'll stop singing because I'm listening to what I'm sure I cannot do. So in some ways, I created the show so that I could marvel in the magic of other performers because I was quite sure I'd never be able to do it again.
You're in your own way.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm saying all of this.
Okay, yeah, finish what you're saying.
Sometimes the concoction is in the thoughts that are going through my head so that I can step out of my own way. And when I went back to when I was asked to do
Oh,
Wicked.
good. I was going to get to that because now let me interject. Because, and
Go ahead.
I'm glad this is coming out because number one, you've never ever projected that thought that you ever got in your way. You always seem to put off this aura and energy of keeping it moving, using all of your talents, using and you have so many talents. Amazing actress, non-singing roles that require singing, roles that require a different type of singing, and you've created all these different platforms for yourself. So you've been using your voice. And then secondly, it never ever occurred to me, this is mind-boggling to me because I never ever would have thought what you just said. Like you always just seem rooted and grounded in everything that you do. So I would have thought that you had created a blockage when it came to singing.
The other day, they asked me to sing something for Dreamgirls for the Tonys, and I immediately got a sore throat.
Oh my gosh.
I immediately got a sore throat. And what it took for me to actually get it together to do it, I was like, God. And my husband said to me, honey, we have to work on this. I was like, yes, I know.
And it's still there. It's still there. You go from originating one of the most iconic roles in Broadway history, to now telling the story, a new story in Wicked. How is that? How did that make you feel when you did the role, and what was that process like to get into the role and telling the story from your perspective, because you were the first in that as well.
Well, it's interesting. A few years before that, I went to see Wicked. I'm going to say this was about 12, 13 years before they asked me to be in the show. And I went with my son, who was 13 at the time, and my nephew, who was in college. And I will never forget sitting there. And I said to them, if they ever make that role of that witch, a Black woman, I will eat that role up. My nephew said to me, I hope that one day I get to be an equity stage manager. My son said out loud, I just want to be in show business. I just want to be on stage. And it's amazing that years would pass. I would end up making theater history as the first Black woman to play Madame Morrible on Broadway. My nephew is one of very few Black male stage managers, and my son is successful in the industry now. So you see how when you speak things, how you can
manifests. Yeah.
It can manifest itself.
Yeah.
So when they called me, I was like, thank you,
you were
God.
ready.
Thank you, God. Oh, I was ready for that. Now I get there and I'm like, where are the notes to the song? Where are the notes? I'm like, I've heard other actresses do it where they speak, the talk speak. And I'm like, you're not going to tell me that there's no music to this. I said, I need the notes. They were like, no, you can just talk it. I said, oh no, you did not bring me back to Broadway to just talk. Not in one of the biggest musicals ever. I need to sing, even if it's just a little bit. So I had to demand that. Thank God.
And got the notes.
And I got the notes and I was able to sing the notes. And it was very interesting. People would say things like they'd never heard the character that way. Then they, things like when you go in and you replace people, very often you're just given what the people before you had. And I said, well, I'm a Black woman. So the blonde that you would have given the white woman before me is not going to be the same color blonde that's going to look good
Exactly.
on me. If you're going to make the wig, let's make something that's complementary to my skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
They were open to that.
Mm.
Then when it came to the makeup of the character, I said, this is a different character and a different, rendition of the music, the character that you haven't seen her before. What can we do to make her different? So her makeup ended up being different.
Yes, yes.
As it should be. But
Yeah.
it took my working with the powers that be to make that happen.
Right.
It wasn't just going to happen.
There's a way to go about it. There's a way
Always.
to, and I think they have laid out what the blueprint is for the role, and then it's up to the actor to come in and find their way of expressing the same words and the same in their way. And that's the part that I feel, that's what I love about the power of being an artist, is that we have the power to do that. And so,
Yes.
and not always the opportunity to do that in shows
That's right.
so iconic as Wicked. So kudos to you. Congrats to you on an amazing run as well in that show, because you killed it. And
I was so excited too doing it, because the New York Times did something. It was sort of like the season of star replacements. And I was their number one choice as their star replacement, having been able to recreate the role, make it my own, and add more to the musical that is Wicked. And I felt so good. It just absolutely blew me away. And also in that group was Ben Harney, who played Curtis Taylor Jr. in the original Dreamgirls. His daughter was replacing one of the characters in The Color Purple, which was on Broadway at the same time that I was doing Wicked.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Full circle, like that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Not often we get a chance to tell those kind of stories.
That's right.
I live for these kind of stories, because you're here, you're doing it, and as a pioneer, you don't always get the recognition. And I think
people forget about pioneers. And at that time, the things that you have access to now, we didn't have that. All we had was our will and our determination to move forward and make it better for those who would come behind us.
Yeah, and it comes out in everything you do, in your Vote initiative. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned it. Yes, vote. Absolutely. Thank you. I believe in the power of the vote. Power of the vote. For the past couple of years, people have been taking it for granted, taking it lightly. And I want to encourage them, along with Jennifer Lewis, to acknowledge the power of the vote. Ferguson elected its first Black, first female mayor ever. That is the power of the vote. Now I want people to understand, if you're going to wear a mask, I created the mask. Vote. Thank you. You make sure you send me the address, because I'm going to give you the T-shirt and the mask.
I will fight and support. That's how I do. Yeah.
Thank you. But it was to make people know, spread the message, not the disease, because we're still in a pandemic.
Yes. Because I don't know if a lot of people know this. I mean, your fans definitely know but there might be some people on here who may not know that you're of Jamaican heritage. Talk about that, because I was thrilled when I did my very first film that your film festival recognized it. And we had a beautiful time in Jamaica. Harry Belafonte was there. I mean, all of these iconic people were there, and it was just like, wow. Clement Virgo, who is also Jamaican, directed it. Yes, and look at his journey. So there's a lot of people that come from a Caribbean background, but don't often get to use the Caribbean side of their talent. Right. So talk about that, because again, you're a pioneer. You, the first time I'd ever seen you speak with an accent or with patois was the Mighty Queen.
Thank you.
So the work, the art, it came to you. You were able to express that side and show that side as well.
Which is a gift for me.
It's a gift.
It's a
Beautiful.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, how does my heritage, my Jamaican heritage, how has it helped me? Well, I can tell you one thing, being in America, it helped me because I was able to know exactly who I was. I had my food. I had my curry goat, my ackee and saltfish, my hard dough bread. Yes. I had my Miss Lou teaching me my songs. Long time gal, me never see you. Come make we wheel and turn. I had our national costume, the bandana. I had our anthem. I had all of these things. I knew that there was greatness in being Black. I had already seen a Black prime minister or a man of color lead a country. My dentist was Black. The man in the pulpit, okay, he was Black. Yeah. And there were others. There were all these things that I knew could be done because I'd already seen them done. Mm-hmm. So when you might be in a public school, and I made my parents send me to public school. So when you'd be in public school and when someone would want to tell you what you couldn't do, I knew they were foolish. Yeah. Because they just hadn't been exposed to what was out in the world. Yeah. They didn't know that it's being done, that Black people are thriving and making great decisions in the world. They just didn't know. But I was a child and I knew already. So I knew how far I could go, which was very far. Very far. I tell my kids, you are a generation that has seen a Black president. And so you will always be able to at least have that as a reference point when you think about dreaming and have aspirations. You remember what it was like when Barack Obama was in office. Thank you. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, and that should make a great difference for them because now that they've seen it, they know it can happen again. Yes, right. Absolutely. My mother, in raising me, she always said, and you can be president of the United States if you want to be. And she believed it. My mother was so shocked when Barack Obama was elected president because she was so sure I was going to be elected first. Yes. Just force me. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, Sheryl, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you just for being a light in this industry, in this world. Continue to put out amazing art, great work. And I'm always here to support you and to continue to lift you up higher and higher and higher. And let's talk soon. Exactly. I want you to please tell your listeners and your watchers to know that we will be celebrating Divas Simply Singing, though virtually this year, the first week of December. Okay. So we want them to follow us on our website, diva.foundation. And also, you just have to say yes right now. Just say yes right now. Thank you very much. Amen. Thank you very much. And also, if they want their mask and t-shirts, go to my Instagram, follow the link in my bio, and place their orders now. We're counting on them to spread the message, not the disease, and get the vote out. Absolutely.
you got all of our support here, and thanks again just for being you. We love
Thank you.
you.
I love you. You give your husband a big hug for me.
I
You
will.
kiss those 2 girls of yours and tell your son we look forward to seeing him one of these years at Divas
Absolutely.
too.
All
All right.
Take care.
Love
Be
you.
safe. Bye.